The Boscombe Down incident remains one of military aviation's most intriguing mysteries. As the story goes, on the evening of September 26, 1994, an aircraft was set to take off from runway 23 at RAF Boscombe Down, a Royal Air Force base in Wiltshire, England that is tasked with flight testing and weapons development. As the aircraft made its run down the runway, a malfunction caused the crew to abort the takeoff. Soon after, London Air Traffic Control Centre, or LAC, was contacted and notified that the entire runway needed to be closed. What followed was a highly peculiar and swift response that is still wrapped in secrecy. It included the mysterious stricken aircraft being wrapped up and presumably partially disassembled so that it could be flown home to the United States in a Lockheed C-5 Galaxy transport plane. Despite eyewitness testimony, there has never been an official explanation for the strange events at RAF Boscombe Down on that fall night in 1994, but it seems quite clear that some kind of clandestine event did indeed occur. RAF Boscombe Down, today known as Mod Boscombe Down, has long been a major locale for military aircraft testing and evaluation in the United Kingdom. Cutting-edge testbeds and recovered foreign tactical jets are just some of the aircraft that have called Boscombe Down home since its construction in 1917. The British Aircraft and Armament Evaluation Establishment, AAEE, began using the base for aircraft experiments in 1939, and in 1994 the site was placed under the control of the Defence Evaluation and Research Agency, DERA, Britain's equivalent to the US Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA. In 2001, DERA was split into two parts that became the UK Ministry of Defence's Defence Science and Technology Laboratory, DSTL, and the private company Kinetic. It was during the base's time as part of DERA the mysterious incident occurred. Much of what the public understands about the incident stems from a March 1997 cover story in Air Force's Monthly written by Ren Hook and Marco van der Welk that reads like an aviation ghost story. On September 22, 1994, eyewitnesses living near Boscombe Down reported hearing an abnormal noise approaching the base. According to local television news reports the next day, the noise sounded almost like a freight train or a low-frequency rumbling or humming. A few days later, on the evening of September 26, an unknown aircraft malfunction shut down runway 23 at RAF Boscombe Down. Eyewitnesses reported that the broken aircraft was quickly covered by a frame and tarpaulins while surrounded by emergency vehicles. While sitting on the runway, the aircraft's rear section was unusually elevated, possibly indicating a nose wheel collapse. Shortly after, the aircraft was pulled into a hangar where it sat behind closed doors for 2 days. A Eurofighter Typhoon taking off from RAF Boscombe Down years after the 1994 incident. During this time period, it became clear that a cleanup operation was underway. Witnesses reported seeing UK Special Operations Forces at Boscombe Down, and 2 Special Operations aircraft reportedly arrived at the base, an Augusta A109 helicopter from the British Army's 8th Flight AAC, a unit that provided covered transport for Special Air Service, SAS, personnel, and a Chinook from the RAF's No. 7 Squadron, a unit tasked with supporting British Special Operations Forces. According to the 2-year investigation conducted by Air Force's Monthly, witnesses reported several unusual aircraft coming in and out of Boscombe Down during this time. A USAF C-12 Huron, used by the DoD for priority air transport throughout Europe, landed in the days following the incident, as did an apparently unmarked Boeing 707. It's also worth noting that this jet had previously been on the U.S. Civil Register as N707HL, with the last civilian owner being a company known as E-Systems in Greenville, Texas. E-Systems, which subsequently became a division of Raytheon, already had a long history of working on highly classified aircraft projects for the U.S. government, including the U.S. military and the CIA, by the early 1990s. Today, 67 to 19,417 is in storage at the Boneyard at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Arizona, where it is listed as an EC-137D. A Janet Airlines Boeing 737-200 framed against the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas as it takes off from McCarran International Airport. The crashed aircraft remained in the hangar at Boscombe Down until a lumbering USAF C-5 Galaxy appeared to fly the wreckage home on September 28, 1994. The C-5's original flight plan had it landing at Ramstein Air Base in Germany until it requested a diversion to Boscombe Down late in its flight. When the C-5 took off from Boscombe Down days later after being loaded with an unidentifiable tarpaulin-covered object, its destination was reportedly listed as KPMD, otherwise known as USAF Plant 42 Airport. Plant 42 is home to the most advanced military aircraft manufacturing centers in the world, including Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works, as well as sprawling Northrop Grumman and Boeing installations. At that time, two specially modified C-5CS, serial numbers 68-20213 and 68-20216, were based at Travis Air Force Base in California and frequented Palmdale, mainly for use in support of various space programs and some clandestine aircraft development programs. They lacked an upper passenger compartment and had other modifications allowing them to carry even larger outsized cargo than their standard C-5A stablemates. In the weeks following the incident, RAF Boscombe Down was visited by a C-20 Gulfstream IV with the U.S. Civil Registration Code N604M reportedly operated by the CIA. The same aircraft made several stops throughout England in early October 1994 under heavy security, including Southampton where Northrop Grumman's facilities in the United Kingdom are situated. The British Ministry of Defence and the US Defence Department both denied the incident had occurred. David Oliver, former editor of Air Forces Monthly, told The Independent that the magazine had no doubt that an incident did happen on the day in question and it has never been satisfactorily explained by the authorities after their 2-year investigation. Oliver assured The Independent that Royal Air Force officers had been among the sources of their investigation and that no doubt that an incident did happen on the day in question and it has never been satisfactorily explained by the authorities. In 1994, Martin Redmond, a member of the UK Parliament from Don Valley, brought up the incident in that legislative body. The response from Defence Minister Nicholas Soames was that he was aware of a press report of such an incident, but that staff at Boscombe Down have confirmed, however, that there was no crash at the unit on that date or, indeed, so far this year. Soames added that aware of a press report of such an incident. In their March 1997 cover story, Air Forces Monthly make the case that the crashed aircraft was the long-rumored, never-confirmed Astra, Advanced Stealth Reconnaissance Aircraft, one of the more popular ghost stories of black-budget aircraft lore. The article claims the Astra was produced by Northrop and even includes the alleged USAF serial number of the crashed vehicle, 90-2414. According to Air Forces Monthly, the vehicle was referred to as AV-6, Air Vehicle 6, and may have been born from research related to the production of the YF-23, the unsuccessful contender for the Advanced Tactical Fighter, ATF, program that spawned the F-22. An advertisement ahead of AFM's Boscombe Down cover story, which would actually appear in their March 1997 issue. Sightings of unknown black, triangular aircraft are often attributed to Aurora, Astra, or similar apocryphal programs. Several high-profile sightings throughout the 1990s fueled speculation that the United States was operating just such a classified reconnaissance aircraft. In one of these sightings, a trained former member of the Royal Observer Corps reported witnessing a black triangular aircraft refueling from a KC-135 over the North Sea while being escorted by two F-111 aardvark combat jets. There was also a lot of work being done around the time regarding small and stealthy tactical special operations transport aircraft, with some notional designs seemingly quite similar to the aircraft described. Such a capability would likely be quite attractive to the Ministry of Defense, which could have prompted a joint program between the two countries. This would have occurred after stealth was proven over Iraq during Desert Storm via the F-117. The UK passed on being part of the F-117 program when it was still in the realm of top-secret classification. Further investigation. The war zone's own Joseph Trevithick has pursued multiple Freedom of Information requests to the USAF, the CIA, and the UK Ministry of Defence in relation to the Boscombe Down incident. The most noteworthy response he says he's received so far is a statement in which a CIA spokesperson did not refuse to confirm or deny that any such incident had occurred at all, but instead pointed him to the USAF. We believe your request as written would more likely fall under the auspices of the US Air Force and Department of Defense. Alison Fong, Information and Privacy Coordinator at the CIA, wrote in response to a Freedom of Information Act request Trevithick submitted regarding Boscombe Down. The Air Force Safety Center responded to an identical FOIA request by stating it had no information about any incident that involved one of the service's aircraft at Boscombe Down in 1994. Air Force Materiel Command and the UK Ministry of Defence have yet to respond to identical requests. The Warzone contributor and former editor of Combat Aircraft Monthly Jamie Hunter has looked into the RAF Boscombe Down incident on his own, too. He says he has yet to find evidence other than accounts that corroborate the fact that a C-5 Galaxy did, in fact, land at RAF Boscombe on the alleged date. I remember seeing a flight plan for the C-5, which was due to fly into Boscombe Down, Hunter told the Warzone. I remember seeing a flight plan for the C-5, which was due to fly into Boscombe Down. The cover story didn't make a whole lot of sense. The main cover story was that a tornado had been testing a towed decoy, which had gotten stuck on its roller and wouldn't retract. The cover story about a towed decoy was familiar because the RAF had been testing towed decoys for tornadoes and it was quite secret. So if you're going to cover up something secret and do it well, it's best to do it authentically with another secret. So a decoy makes sense. But it was patently a cover story. I definitely think something happened. The C-5 definitely came into Boscombe Down. I didn't talk to the witnesses directly, but I read enough witness testimony to say they saw something with a tarpaulin on it on the runway. It had to have been American or have had some American lineage in it in order for the C-5 to have turned up. There were quite a few rumors of joint black programs between the US and the UK at the time. There was a lot of the Aurora stuff knocking around at the time, but I don't think it was Aurora. It sounded smaller, tactical, deployable, F-117-like. That sort of size. Certainly, something happened. What it was, I have no idea. Evaluating the Boscombe Down incident nearly 30 years later is clearly a difficult proposition. Whatever the case is, the evidence available about the incident suggests that something sensitive occurred at Boscombe Down on that fall evening back in 1994, but the culprit of the incident remains a mystery to this day. Still, it may be that the incident at the testing base was the closest the public has come to being exposed to a true and still classified black jet of the era, whatever its origins. The Warzone continues to pursue its investigation into the events at RAF Boscombe Down. We will follow up if we finally get a major break in the case.